eGrabber and enterprise selling, bringing this to you. So techniques to tailor B2B prospecting pipeline and gain profit. Okay, so looks like we have a lot of people from around the world tuning in today. So let me quickly introduce the panelists. And our speakers for today would be Ivor Kellock, Rich Kumar, and a little bit about Ivor. He has 30 years of sales experience. He's an expert in financial services, social media, large industrial equipment, and marketing and coaching. Ivor sold his wealth management practice in 2009 to focus on the exciting world of social media and business development. He is a LinkedIn user for almost 9 years, 30,000 first-level connections, and he has a close working relationship with most of the respected and recognized Forbes listed social media names. Ivor has lived and breathed social media in the enterprise and corporate world. An interesting fact about Ivor is that he lived in Romania for a year in 1992 and 93, supporting a UK charity that provides aid to 2 orphanages in Bucharest right after the Berlin Wall came down. Ivor has been using the internet for 17 years, more than half his working life as a consumer and early adopter of technology and streamlined process and improve efficiency and return on capital. Hope I've put that together, Ivor. Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Perfect. Okay, and our speaker today would also be Rich Kumar. Rich is eGrabber's Customer Success Manager, and he has been instrumental in training thousands of our valued customers on many of our products. And the voice that you hear is me, Parry Clark. It's a delight and honor to be moderating the session today. And a little things I'd like to let you know before we start the webinar. I'd like to inform you that we would be answering questions at the end of the webinar, so keep your questions ready, or you could type them in your questions box, and Ivor and Rich would be more than happy to answer them at the end of the webinar. And you can also follow us on Twitter. Ivor's Twitter handle is @IvorKellock. You can also hit the hashtag button, eGrabberWebinar, to tweet in your questions and comments with the hashtag again, eGrabberWebinar. Okay, so let's begin with the webinar. I'm now going to hand over the floor to Ivor. Ivor, the floor is all yours. Take it away.
Lovely. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody, depending on where you are in the world. It's been an absolute pleasure to be here today. Hope you're going to learn lots and bring those questions in all the way through, and we'll deal with them at the end. So, prospecting, pipeline, and profits. Can we have the next slide, please? Can we have the next slide, please? So, a good starting point, really. Let's define our terms and appreciate and understand what we're talking about here. So, prospecting, as far as I'm concerned, apart from it obviously being a highly specialised skill, it's the art and science of finding potential buyers. That's it in a nutshell. That's all prospecting is about. And then obviously pipeline is the expected deals that haven't already closed but you're expecting to close. And obviously when we're talking about pipeline, that is directly correlated to closed deals. And obviously your profits come from the closed deals that you make. Sorry, I'm losing the plot here, my apologies. Profits are directly correlated to the deals that you close, because obviously that's where your revenue and your margins come from. So next slide, please. So, pipeline. In an ideal world, and particularly in an enterprise environment, sales is all about specialisms. And there's lots of research out there that shows that the more you specialise your salespeople, the more successful you will be as an organisation. So if we look at working backwards, your frontline salespeople should be the people that are doing the presentations, closing the deals, and asking for referrals. And before that point, you want your prospectors to be doing the work behind the scenes finding out your potential clients, your potential prospects, and feeding that information through to your sales staff, the people that are doing the presentations and closing the deals. Now, of course, that is in an ideal world, and I recognise that that isn't necessarily the case for all organisations, and depending on your industry, you may well have found that it's actually better to do it in other ways. But as a broad approach, as a way of looking at organisations as a whole, as an average, if you like, then I would always suggest and recommend that you specialise. So if we look at your pipeline, as I say, that's deals that you're expecting to close, and that means that you've already gone through a discovery process, you've already had a quotation and a proposal from the client, and you're expecting a deal to close. They've effectively said yes, they're just waiting on something to happen. Of course, if you haven't gone through those 3 basic steps as part of your statistics in your pipeline building process, then I would suggest that you're kidding yourselves, and that's your sales staff or you as a management team not necessarily recognising that you've gone through enough of a process to have a closed deal ready and waiting to go on the books. So, pipelines. Another few obvious facts, but I'm going to state them because I think it's important to recognise where we're at. People always overestimate their pipelines. There are never clear averages on pipelines in terms of one industry. You're going to expect 50% of a pipeline to close, or 40% or 60%. But as a rule of thumb, I would suggest that you're unlikely, unless you've really nailed your data and you're right on top of your sales staff and you know exactly what's going on, you're unlikely to get, at best, 50% of your pipeline closing as profitable business. So can we have the next slide, please? So, probably why you're all here, we're looking at social media and how this has hugely impacted on sales. Now, I can play devil's advocate here and talk about it from the flip side and say it hasn't had much of an impact. I think the biggest impact that we can look at, and if we could have the next slide, please, actually. The biggest impact that social media has had is our ability as salespeople, now whether that's us as a salesperson or us as a prospector, to directly reach out to our potential prospects and our potential clients and connect with them on a one-to-one basis by initially building relationships. And what I would also say, and I think this is highly important to understand, that when it comes to prospecting, when it comes to social sales, sorry, it is all about prospecting and only about prospecting. You're never going to close a deal directly by having a conversation with someone via LinkedIn or via Twitter. And clearly, the bigger the size of the deal, the more involved the sales process is, and therefore the more information is going to be required to go between client and you as the supplier. So when we're talking about social sales, what we're actually talking about is prospecting and building up a much, much bigger picture of what your client is all about and where you can fit in and where you can solve their needs and solve their problems. So if we just look at this number here, 57% of sales process already completed before you get the phone call. Now, of course, you could argue that, yeah, okay, Google partly funded that and they're an internet-based company and therefore they are going to be saying that because they want you to be using more of their services and buying more of their services. But the reality of the situation is that the internet has empowered us to gather a much, much more information and help us in our decision-making process. And therefore, I think whether it's 57%, whether it's 60%, whether it's 20%, people tend to get in touch now once they've already started that process. So as a prospector, you want to get in there as quickly as you possibly can, so much earlier phase than that 57%. Or, and I think which is probably even more important in today's world, it's important that your sales staff are trained well enough to be able to challenge decisions that organisations have made. We live in a highly complicated world, and in B2B sales there are always going to be technical issues when it comes to your sale, and that's either how you differentiate, how you integrate into the company, what your supply chain is all about, whatever. There are a huge raft of issues there that need to be considered in the sales process, and unless your sales staff are able to challenge decisions that companies have made, you will be losing deals hand over fist. So can we have the next slide, please? So social selling, what do these numbers here actually mean? Now, some of these numbers have been taken directly from LinkedIn, but I can certainly vouch, maybe not directly for the specific numbers, but certainly vouch from the work that I've done with clients to say that the use of LinkedIn in the B2B world is a highly, highly powerful tool. And just there you can see there that prospecting companies have managed to significantly increase their close rate on making appointments just by talking to first or second degree connections on LinkedIn rather than third degree connections. So there is a huge learning point there to be had from excuse me, from that, to say that if you as a company aren't embracing the use of LinkedIn, then you're missing out on huge opportunity, either directly with your sales staff or with your sales staff and your prospecting team. Now, have we asked the first poll yet? And if we haven't, could we get that?
Sure.
Ask people those questions.
Okay, there it is. What is your biggest challenge in growing revenue? Finding great quality prospects, getting in front of great quality prospects, building pipeline with great quality prospects, closing great quality prospects. So there's about 30 seconds. You can check on one of the appropriate answers to whatever your opinion is, and we would be showing you the results in about 20 seconds from now. Okay. Okay, so there's the results up for you. Finding great quality prospects, that's a tie with getting in front of great quality prospects, building pipeline with great quality prospects. And the last one was just 17%, closing great quality prospects. Well, I guess that it's, I'm sorry, go ahead.
That's all right. No, but that's extremely interesting. We got tie there for first place across all three. So clearly, everyone that we've got on the line here, which is brilliant, people are very focused on wanting to find more prospects, appreciate their quality and find the right quality, and go on to build their pipeline from those prospects. So clearly, building your pipeline, that is much more about your sales process. If you've answered that one saying that you're finding great quality prospects, but you're struggling to deal with them, i.e. to present and close, and that's about your sales process as a whole. If you're struggling to find if you're struggling to get in front of, then that again is about your sales process. Would you be better off? Have you thought about using social media as part of your prospecting process? What is your prospecting process? And if you look at the statistics here, you can see that people are using LinkedIn highly effectively to increase that close rate on appointment building. And of course, looking at it on a broader level, the research shows that those that are good at social selling, so those that are good at prospecting and getting in front of clients by using social media, and in the B2B world specifically, that's obviously going to be LinkedIn, and depending on your industry and how forward-thinking your prospective clients are, whether they're going to be on Twitter as well, Google Plus to a much smaller extent, but Google Plus is a thriving community, and anyone that is active on Google Plus is almost certainly going to be active across most social channels. And then, of course, let's not forget about YouTube. Not that you can directly have a conversation with people on YouTube, but it's a great way of finding out much more about your prospects and about your clients in terms of what they're doing, how they're communicating with people. And by looking at that information and sifting through that information, you can start looking at what their challenges are and where your solutions can fit in and help them through. Can we go to the next poll question actually while we're here, please? Could we have the next poll question? Thank you. So, looking specifically at LinkedIn, are your sales staff and your prospectors, whether you've split that role up or whether you combine that role, how often are they using LinkedIn on a daily basis? And if we'll give another 30 seconds on that one, this is going to be a fascinating result. So have we got the results there, please? So we've got fairly active users. Anyone that's on LinkedIn for more than 35 minutes a day, that would suggest to me that you're active, and therefore you making the assumption that you know what you're doing. The fact that you're on there, that means that you're committed. That's really good. I've got none of you on less than 5 minutes. So you're all on there for a fair amount of time in the day. So from the previous poll question, that would suggest that you're not getting in front of people as well as, or you're not either getting in touch or getting those right conversations with people, or you're not actually getting in front of the people that you want to be talking to, even though you're using LinkedIn. So brilliant. Okay, can we go back to the slides, please? Can we have the slide, please? Sorry about this, folks. We seem to have a bit of a technical glitch here. Could we have the slide back, please, that we were on before?
Yeah.
No, we can't.
Yeah, Ivor, this is Rich. It looks like, we have a technical glitch. I'm sorry about that. We're trying to fix it. And
no worries.
Yeah, the slide presentation should be on shortly.
Okay, so let's have a look. So I think it will be useful to see what questions people are asking. Unfortunately, I can't see the questions that are being asked my end. So if we've got some questions, or if you want to ask your questions, is my assumption correct there that you're on LinkedIn and you're talking to people, but you're not managing to move from conversation or from general discussion or conversation to a sales conversation in the real world? Or are you struggling to have conversations with people? Are you struggling to find people? You're on LinkedIn, so what are the issues that you're actually having? Let's deal with a couple of those questions if we've got some of those there, and let's see if we can help you out immediately. Okay, so that's the next slide, is it? So has this happened to you? And I've specifically asked this. This happens to me pretty much every day of the week because my mobile number is out there in the wide world. I don't take all the calls. I get quite a lot of messages, but I'm shocked at the poor level of cold calling that I receive daily, weekly, in terms of they have no idea what I'm about. They have no idea whether their service is going to be of any value to me. They want to be my mate straight away, but they don't ask me any open questions about who I am, what I am, and whether it's convenient to talk. And I just find that quite shocking in today's world, that with all the research and all the knowledge that's out there, that there is so little training going on with cold calling. So I'm just asking you, has that happened to you? And if this has happened to you, is this happening in your organisation as well? Have you actually trained your staff well enough to be able to start building that conversation, to build that relationship from cold, and get people on your side? Can we have the next slide, please? So, and of course, if your sales team are doing what was on the previous slide there, i.e. going straight in for the kill, not being polite, not asking open questions, not trying to build relationships in a quick, fast, efficient way, and just bluntly bludgeoning their way through to try and make the sale within the first 10, 20, 30 seconds, what's that doing for your brand, what's that doing for your image, and how effective actually is that really making your sales team and your sales organisation? So let's look at what's required. There's a list here, 6 different things that are generally required, and from the previous 2 poll questions, it looks like that you would like to improve your lead generation program. Now, I'm not sure what position you are, those of you that are on the line today, so I don't know whether you're VP of Sales and therefore you've got a large team of people sitting below you, or whether you're a small organisation and you're doing the whole sales process. But what I would say is, if you're reviewing your lead generation program, is that your sales staff whinging and moaning for the sake of whinging and moaning because they're not making the numbers, or that's just part of what salespeople do? Or do you actually need to review your lead generation program? And if you do need to review it, what are the issues that you think you are facing? Bearing in mind that we do live in a social world, and remembering the previous slide there about people not being very pertinent when they are getting in touch with people, does that mean that your sales staff need to have more information at their fingertips when they're getting in touch with people, or your prospectors, depending on which way you're doing it? Or do you need to improve your sales rep access to key information? Are they actually doing the research, or are you giving them the research? Are you giving them the tools? And I'm focusing here on LinkedIn, and I've mentioned Facebook and Twitter and YouTube and Google Plus, the 5 key platforms. But of course there are all sorts of other ways of providing that information. There's all sorts of industry databases depending on which industry you're in. Are you using Dun & Bradstreet if you're in the US? Are you using Companies House if you're in the UK? And there are all sorts of other databases out there that you can use to glean this information. Are you building enough of a picture, or are you training your sales staff to recognize why building that picture is important before they start the call? I mean, it's very easy, very, very easy, using LinkedIn to find out a few personal bits of information, so that when you pick that phone up and you start talking to that person, you can actually build that rapport and build that relationship really quickly by just simply picking simple little snippets of information off of their profile. Or by simply saying that you're in a group. If you're in a group there, the statistic was there, 60 to 70% of people will say yes to an appointment just by saying that you're in the same group. I mean, that's a crazy statistic really, isn't it? But actually, if you think about it, it makes a huge amount of sense, because we all like to feel connected. We are all connected in different ways, and we like to feel part of something. It's a very easy way to tip that person who's umming and ahhing over the edge from, well, I'm not really sure, to, yeah, actually, okay, let's make that appointment. Do you need to look at revising your sales process? When was the last time your sales process was actually reviewed? We can easily talk about compliance here. We have compliance in all sorts of industries. Oh, thank you. Oh, we seem to have lost that. Come back again. So compliance is an easy one to look at. Sales processes have to be reviewed because of compliance. Either data is out of date, legislation has changed, or the market has shifted, the market has moved. But is your sales process up to date for today? How are you reviewing that process? Do you get feedback from your sales staff? Are your sales staff giving you that relevant, useful information? Are you talking to your clients and appreciating what you're doing and getting feedback from them? What are you doing to ensure that your sales process is remaining up to date? Or do you need to think about doing things in a different way? I'm asking these all as open questions, and I'm hoping that you're going to ask me some questions that I can be more specific with to help you out. And of course, the most important part really, increasing sales rep effectiveness. Are they game ready? Have they got that relevant intelligence? Have they got all that useful, valuable information? And more importantly, are you helping them appreciate how they use that information at any stage of the sales process? So if we then come on to prospecting, what are you doing there to research your prospects? How are you giving that useful, relevant information? And that's what eGrabber is all about, and you're going to learn about that in a few minutes' time. And that's how I got involved with eGrabber in the first place, actually. I was looking for something specific that was going to give me a range of prospects with all the useful, valuable information, and stumbled across eGrabber. In fact, I say stumbled across, I was referred to eGrabber by one of those Forbes listed social media experts that I work with. She's recognised as a LinkedIn expert and uses it all the time and recommends it all the time, and one of the best recommendations, I have to say, I've ever had. And are you improving prospect research? So that information, and I keep coming back to this point, it's all about useful, valuable, relevant information that you can quickly get to your salespeople in the field. So can we have the next slide, please? So if you're still not convinced about what I'm saying and about the importance of incorporating social media and LinkedIn into your process, and it seems from the poll results that you're all using LinkedIn, but it's just not giving you the edge that you want. So conversion rates from prospect to appointment can rise by 16.7% by using useful, valuable, relevant information, i.e. background research. And this 75% number, I mean, that's I would say it would go even higher, actually, depending on the quality of the prospecting team and the prospectors involved. But people are, you can quite easily convince people to go to meetings, go to events, and or have a meeting just by having that useful information at their fingertips when they're making that call. And people will say yes. So I'm really saying there, don't make assumptions that cold calling doesn't work. Cold calling is still highly efficient. And as I said to you a few minutes ago, if you mention that you share a LinkedIn group, you can increase your close rate by up to 70%. And I would actually say that you could actually, that again, could go even higher. Could we go on to the next slide, please? So, of course, we're recognising that prospecting is critical. I've said that the 5 major networks there are the ones that you should be looking at, and I would say, depending on your industry, possibly in that order, maybe YouTube should be a little bit higher if your prospects are using YouTube either as a sales channel or as an information or as a training channel. Just to give you a little story, a couple of months ago, I sent one tweet out to the CEO of a group of hospitals, and I questioned their ability at listening because I'd done a little bit of research and looked at their website and looked at what she was talking about and questioned their ability to listen to patients and listen to staff. And from that one tweet, I got a meeting. Clearly, I hit a raw nerve. Now, I'm not suggesting that you're going to be able to do that every day of the week, and I would love it to happen all the time. Clearly, one tweet isn't going to get you meetings with CEOs every day of the week, but they are embracing social media and technology, and by me publicly questioning their abilities, she felt the need to come back, and I got a meeting, and now doing a couple of pieces of work with them actually. Took a month or so for the work to come through, but the point is I got that meeting from one tweet, and by using groups and discussions in groups, I can get in front of people fairly quickly just by having 2 or 3 interactions with someone, and then very, very slowly steering that conversation away from the general chitter-chatter in the group to something a little bit more specific, and asking them to meet up for a drink or a coffee, or to move the conversation privately into an email and then onto the telephone before you get to a meeting. And it's about recognizing that doing it in small steps is likely to be more powerful and more successful than immediately going for that meeting. And it's about that value call, that judgment call about how much rapport you've built, how much they think you know you, they know you, and how much in need they are at that moment in time of your service or your product. Could we just ask the last question, the last poll question, please? So,
Sure.
Go for it.
Have you formally trained your sales team members on social selling etiquette and practice? The options: no, no, but considering to; yes, informally by team members sharing best practice; yes, formally with structured training. So we have about 25 seconds, and you could vote, and we display the results for you in just a bit.
So where are we at?
Okay. So no, but considering to takes the cake, and the second one is a tie again. No, yes, informally by team members sharing best practice, and just 7% think yes, formally with structured training. Ivor?
Okay, thank you. So I think there's a clear message here that we don't know what we don't know. Just because you're using LinkedIn, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're using it effectively. And from looking at this poll result here, only 7% of you are using formally structured training. Maybe I could have worded that slightly better to include sales manager, coaching and mentoring. But from these numbers here, it looks like that you're allowing people just to intuitively use LinkedIn, which in my experience says that people are going to be too brutal in their approach, they're going to be too quick in their approach, they're going to be impatient in their approach, and therefore that would, if my assumptions are correct there, that would explain why you're struggling from the poll questions in the past to actually convert from starting those conversations into having meaningful business conversations with those people that you want to be targeting. So can we just have the next slide, please? Okay, and we'll go on to the next one, please. So I've made some assumptions here, some basic assumptions about what it is that you want to know about your prospects. Clearly, the more information you gather and the more information that you assimilate in your mind before you start those conversations, the more meaningful a conversation you can have with your prospects. And I'm going to hand over now to eGrabber, because this is exactly what eGrabber does for you. It's a way of building highly targeted prospect lists, which you can disseminate out to your prospecting and or sales teams to allow them to contact. And most importantly, it gives you their LinkedIn profile details as well, so you've got huge amounts of information to use before you start those phone calls and those emails.
All right, thank you so much, Ivor. It was great for the presentation. And well, we're talking about LinkedIn. Many people, as you rightly said, are starting to use LinkedIn as their starting point in trying to get quality leads when it comes to lead building. Okay, and that's just the starting point. Now, when you're working with LinkedIn, think of a scenario where you're not connected to someone directly. Well, if you're not connected to someone directly, the most obvious problem that you're going to face is trying to find their contact information. Okay, and that is where the eGrabber tools come into play. Okay, using the eGrabber tools, you could find those very difficult to find email address and phone numbers of your prospects. And the best part is you don't have to be an expert. You don't have to run around and trying to find those difficult Boolean search strings to use on search engines to find information. The tool will do all that just for you, and starting with your social networking profile is just a starting point. Now, when you use the tool and try to find someone's contact information, it goes out to all different places on the whole worldwide internet. It goes on to company websites, newsrooms, chat rooms, and any place where it's likely to find a footprint of someone's email. And if it does, it just picks it up for you and adds it in a nice little table-like format that you see down there below, and it'll give that information to you in a few seconds. Now, when it's available anywhere on the internet, the program will be able to find it for you. People leave their footprint on the internet all the time. They go to blogs, they do presentations, their contact numbers is listed on service directories. Their footprint is always there. Many a times it's quite easy to find if you're a Boolean expert. Well, the tool not only does serve Boolean experts, but if you are someone who is not a Boolean expert and who has very time-consuming task in your hand of finding these emails and phone numbers, the tool can also help you do just that. And it can find those hard-to-find email phone numbers right there, and if someone's email is not available anywhere on the internet, well, then the program has an intelligent algorithm where it looks up at email patterns of other people working in the same company, and then whichever it finds to be the most widely and commonly used pattern, it'll project an email based on that. So if someone does not leave a footprint, well, the program can still get you the next best alternative, which is their email in a projected format that you could start using right away and get in touch with your prospects and contacts. Well, many people ask me this question, how accurate this tool is. If the information is available anywhere on the internet, the program has a 95% hit rate of getting that information for you. Well, if the program is not able to find the information, it's still going to make a projection that's 3 times more accurate than an industry expert who can guess that. Well, again, you don't have to be a Boolean expert. You don't have to spend hours and hours on the internet trying to find this information. The tool will be able to do all of this for you in just under a few minutes. And the best part is you don't have to babysit this, and you could let this run and get the information on it while you could keep working on something else. Just to prove the point, we have a patent for this as well, for finding the email addresses and phone numbers, and that's what we received recently in July of 2013. And we're very proud to say that this is the tool and the only tool so far available on the market that has this patented email appending process. Okay, now think of this as a best process for you, an ability to find the information. How many times do you find yourself in this kind of a situation when someone sends you a list of companies and you want to find key people from those companies? Okay? How long does it take for you to go ahead and find those decision makers and their contact information? Well, we did some webinar with other industry experts over the past 6 months, and the typical response that we get is they spend about 30 minutes on an average to find decision makers from their prospective clients and companies and finding their email addresses and phone numbers. Well, that's 30 minutes per contact. And imagine if you have to do about 100 or 200 contacts per day, that would be a humongous task to go ahead and build that list and get that information for you. Well, we have developed the eGrabber tool in such an easy way where you could simply load a list of companies into the tool and then click a button to append those decision makers, and the tool goes out to the whole worldwide internet and then tries to find the information, adds it just next to your company, and you have the decision maker names. Once you found the decision makers, then just a click of another button and you could go and start to append the emails and phone numbers and add it to that list that you've appended from a list of companies. Well, think about that. How much time would it save for you? What value would this kind of a tool bring in to you? The answer is there's lots and lots of people who are finding it difficult to find contact information and especially prospecting from LinkedIn, and this tool, along with finding emails and phone numbers and working with your hard find prospects, is going to help you to find those very difficult to find decision makers and add them contact information to them. Okay, so it's easy as that, clicking a button and doing stuff, and you would be able to get all that information for you. Okay, that's a little snippet of what the Lead Grabber tool can do for you, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. Okay, if you would want to take a look at the program more in detail, please use your GoToWebinar chat box and let Perry know that you would like to see a demo. Just like the few examples that's shown there, and Perry would be happy to organize a demo for the tool, and we would be happy to show you how the tool works and stuff. Okay, so please go ahead and put in your question box or send an email to Perry. We'd be happy to organize that for you. Okay, and just before I leave, okay, I'm going to handle this to hand this out to Perry again. Okay, and Perry, I think you have some offers to tell.
Thanks, Rich. Okay, so I hope I put this together for you people. Now, this software is priced at $3,495 US, and that's per year, and it'll be locked to one computer. Now, I don't want to sound too salesy, but as a token of appreciation for joining the webinar, and besides that, if you send me an email or if you just schedule a demo, then one of our sales guys will definitely give you a call, and they would, and here's a surprise, when they call you, since you scheduled a demo, they would definitely go ahead and give you a price which beats the 3,495. So that's the surprise, and how much it would be, I wouldn't know. I wouldn't be able to tell you, but I'm sure that when you are on the demonstration with them, they'd let you know what the price is because you registered or you scheduled a demo, and then you could take it from there, and I'm sure you'd be happy about the price.
Thanks, Barry.
Okay. Thanks, Ivor. Perfect. And the offer would be a fully functional 7-day trial besides what's the price package that he's going to quote you or she's going to quote you. And we will be sending you a trial download link, a fully functional 7-day trial download. And we'd love to hear from you as well. So please send your emails across to me, parry@egrabber.com. That's my email address. So you could just send your emails. And you could also, I'm looking forward to a lot of demo schedules so that you could get the price break as well. And I'm also reachable at 408-516-4566. Okay, and how do you connect with Ivor Kellock? There it is. His phone number is there for you to see, and you can also Skype Ivor Kellock. And his Gmail address is also there on display.
Have we got any questions there, Parry? Because I can't see the questions.
Sure, let me read them out to you. The first one, I'm going to get this. This one is for Ivor. Ivor, you ready?
Yeah, go for it.
Perfect. Are there any best practices to follow for scaling a social selling prospecting strategy and increasing my reach to more potential customers without violating any social platform policies? Perfect. Yep, that's it.
Oh, that's quite a broad question. So when you're talking about scaling, is that about an individual, or is that about a team of people? The only things that you need to worry about on platforms really are sending out spam. So it's a bit broad for me to talk about. So if we're talking about LinkedIn, if you just start joining groups and then sending loads of messages out to people because you've joined that group, then if you're being quite blunt and quite brutal in your process of sending out emails, so again, I get them all the time on LinkedIn. I'll get an email from someone saying, "Hi, great, we're in the same group. We do this, blah, blah, blah. We'd love to quote you or send you more information." I've got no relationship with that person whatsoever. I won't necessarily mark them as a spammer first time round, but if they do it on a regular basis, then certainly I will. There's no relationship there. So I mean, social selling. There's no rocket science. There's nothing different from the basic sales process. You've got to build a relationship with people first. There's no point in sending out that cold message unless you've got a highly specialized offer, you've done lots of research about that person, and therefore the message that you're sending to them does feel personal and does feel like it's giving value to them at that moment. Again, the same on Twitter. If you start sending out loads of direct messages, automated direct messages, you're going to get blocked as a spammer. If you start sending out too many tweets, you're going to get blocked as a spammer. In fact, the rules are quite similar across the platform. Maybe that person that asked that question would like to be a little bit more specific. Difficult for me to answer that one. It's too broad.
Thanks, Ivor. I guess that they'll send me an email and I'll forward it across to you.
Or they
might send you.
Yeah, or they can ask another question if they like, can't they?
Sure.
What
And
other questions?
yep, this one is for Rich, Ivor. Rich?
Yep, go ahead, Perry.
How many emails and phones can I find in a given day with this tool?
Okay, now this tool is not meant for someone who is interested in building mass email lists and contacts lists. This tool is built for niche people who would want to generate a targeted list. Okay? And the average emails and phone numbers that we recommend to do per day is about 300, and you could stretch it to about 400 per day. But we would definitely advise you to stay within the radar of not getting spammed and not going into those uncomfortable situations. So yeah, the limit that we recommend is about 300 to 400 per day.
Thanks, Rich. Okay, and I guess that there are a couple of people that have asked this question. Can I use this software on a Mac?
Unfortunately, the tool is not directly compatible with the Mac, but you don't have to worry. The Mac users especially, we have had a lot of customers use it on a Mac successfully with a virtual environment. So all that you need to do is have a virtual environment with Windows running on it, and you would be able to use that tool on a Mac, but it's not directly compatible to work on a Mac.
Thanks, Rich. Okay. And next one as well is for you, Rich. Does this tool integrate with Salesforce?
Yes, it does integrate with Salesforce. We do have a direct API level integration with Salesforce, but it does not work with any and all versions of Salesforce. When you're doing a demo, please make sure that you have the right version of the Salesforce, and please make sure that you ask this question during a demo: is it compatible with your version of Salesforce? Now, you may have a team edition, you may have a pro edition. Just make sure and ask this question, and your sales rep or your specialist who is answering your demos and questions, they'll be able to tell you if it is directly compatible with the version of your Salesforce. Well, even if it's not compatible directly with your Salesforce, you don't have to worry about it. There's an excellent feature available in the tool that can export all the results at the click of a button to a CSV file. And once you have the results on a CSV file, you could pick up that CSV file and add it into any CRM that exists out there. So even if it's not directly compatible, well, yes, you could still get the results into your Salesforce edition.
Thanks, Rich. And this one's for Ivor. When dialing a LinkedIn connection, what would you suggest a good 20-second cold call would sound like? Ivor?
Yeah, can you hear me? I'm here. So I would introduce myself. Hi, my name's Ivor Kellock. I wouldn't. Okay, we're doing a cold call. I would prefer to make a relationship with the person in a group first, but okay, we'll do a cold call. Hi, my name's Ivor Kellock. We're connected on LinkedIn. We're in a group on LinkedIn. I see that you're doing this. I see that you're doing that. I've got some interesting things that I'd like to share with you. Have you got a couple of minutes that I can share them with you now? And then I'd wait for an answer. And then depending on what that answer was, I'd either then offer to email it to them if they're saying that they're busy. I'd continue the conversation at that point. And the best possible outcome, of course, would be I'd make an appointment with them. But I would leave it open to them to feel that they were in control of the call at that point once I'd introduced myself.
Perfect. Perfect. Thanks, Ivor. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Oops. Okay. I have a couple of questions, but I'm not sure if I could give them the answer. I hope Rich or Ivor would. What would be the surprise price for the tool if we schedule a demo? There are 3 people that have asked a question as of now. Rich?
Okay, no, I'm not sure about the surprise as well, and that's why I guess we call that as a surprise. Okay, so please go ahead and reach out to your specialist and schedule a demo, and reach out to Perry as well. And I have a hunch that it's going to do with the pricing, but I'm not sure about that as well. So it's a surprise to me as well. So yeah, please do reach out, and you'll get your surprise. We don't want to spoil your surprise.
Thanks, Rich. Well said. Yep. Okay. One last one. Ivor, this one's for you. You said that you would build a relationship with a group member before messaging or calling. How do you go about doing this?
Okay. I would. So I found the person that I want to be talking to. I found that they're having a conversation in a group, and I would get involved in that conversation in a group. So whatever the conversation happens to be, whatever the group happens to be, I would get involved in that conversation. So without them realizing that I want to move that conversation forward into the real world, they're now seeing, excuse me, they're now seeing my picture, they're now seeing who I am, they're now seeing what I'm about, and they're now hearing how I correspond with them in the conversation in a group. And I would, having had those interactions, then either directly ask them in that conversation, or then send them an email, or then call them after I'd had those interactions with them, depending on the level and the quality of those interactions. So a few tips on those interactions: don't be too controversial. Always be positive. If you start being negative, it can be any negative comment, particularly in LinkedIn groups on the internet, is magnified significantly. So always remain positive, and always be supportive. Whatever you're doing, always make sure that you're supporting them in what they're doing and how they are. So you can still disagree with somebody, clearly, and you don't necessarily have to agree, but do it in a polite and a supportive and a positive way, rather than just calling them idiots. Obviously, that's not really going to get you very far.
Okay, thanks, Ivor. So it looks like we have about 4 to 5 minutes. So if we have any questions, we'll take them. But I see that I'm getting a few emails right away. So to all the people that are sending me the emails, I'll be replying to your email, and we definitely have the sales specialist contacting you and breaking the surprise. I guess that you don't want to keep it for too long. Perfect. So that's about it. We'd wind up. If Ivor and Rich have anything to say, you could go ahead and say that. But yeah, we're pretty much done. So Ivor, Rich, do you want to say anything?
Okay, if I just speak before Rich does, if there's one thing that you take away from this webinar and about appreciating what social selling is all about, it's not really about selling, it's purely about prospecting, it's purely about relationship building, reaching out to people, ensuring that you're being supportive, you're being positive, and you're helping people. And most importantly, that you are recognizing and understanding the language that you need to use. And that's something I haven't really touched on. And for some people, they find that quite difficult, but there are a few straightforward and simple tips that I can share if you want to get in touch that show you how to be positive, how to be supportive, and how to move that from just having general chit-chat to move it in the direction that you wanted to travel in, where you start taking control of the conversation.
Okay. Thanks, Ivor. Thanks, Rich. So I guess we'll wind up. Thank you so much, the audience especially, for the time. Thanks, Ivor, for your time. It was really nice to learn a lot of things, and thanks for the knowledge and insight. And what I'd like to say before we wind up is that we are getting in the emails, and a lot of people are scheduling demos. They are asking for demo requests, but if you could be a little more precise and say what time or what day you would like to have the demonstration, that would definitely help, and that would make it one step less, so that I'll ensure that the sales specialist would get in touch, and I'll ensure that you get the discount as well. So please go ahead and send your emails across to me, parry@egrabber.com, and kindly specify or kindly mention the date and time you'd like to have the demonstration. And I'm already getting emails, so it was really nice putting this together and the webinar together. Thanks for the insight and knowledge, and I hope that you got something today, and it was fun bringing this to you. Thanks a lot for your time and patience, and y'all have yourselves a wonderful day. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, Ivor.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, nice talking to you.
Thank you so much. Same here.
Thanks, Barry.
Rich. Thanks, Ivor. You're welcome. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks very much, everybody.